Can I,
If you'd like.
could I hear a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from August 1st.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Have a vote aye.
Stein, aye.
Brittany Carey, aye.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Okay. There's one more, which is August 8th, which you should have gotten on
August 8th. Yeah, okay. I didn't.
on August 9th. That one I got out. I just either sat there and did it that night or did it the next day.
The meeting was on the 8th.
Correct. That was the night Brendan lost power. Well, I guess you got your power back on, huh?
We did.
What happened, do you know?
A tree branch fell on the telephone wire and kind of just knocked our neighborhood out.
We had a squirrel do it for our neighborhood one time.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
Pretty-
need to buy a generator at some point.
Yeah, does it keep happening?
Yeah,
So before that one, actually,
not
Kathy,
as much as before. I'm sorry.
we have August 3rd before that one.
August 3rd.
So August 3rd is actually when we wrote report number 2.
So maybe what I think is August 8th is actually August 3rd.
Oh, no. So we reviewed with the applicant on August 3rd. And then we didn't have time to actually write the report, and so we met on August 8th. We wrote report number 2 on Tuesday the 8th.
All right. Can we do this first? Because I think I might have it in here. I might have the third. You're saying the 3rd is when we met about the.
The 3rd is when we met with the applicant.
All right, but didn't we just approve August 8th, August 1st? Because that's when we wrote the letter, right?
We just approved August 1st.
Yeah, but that was a separate meeting. What do you mean, Kathy?
I'm trying to find it. I think I want to approve August 8th.
Okay, I'm trying to find that in my email.
Oh, all right, because I'm trying to find August 3rd again, because I think I had it up.
Oh, I have August 3rd. I see.
Okay,
Oh,
good.
no, nope, that's the agenda.
All right. Let me do this. Who took the minutes that night? Do we know?
I didn't have anyone written down, so maybe it wasn't. I think we only met with the applicant. I don't know if well, we should have minutes, but I don't know who did them.
About the report?
Did we wrote a report, so that would take the minutes, right?
The report is a record of the content of the August 3rd meeting, but we still need to have minutes that open and close the meeting.
Oh, sorry, this is bad. I think it might have actually been me. That's why I'm wondering. Because there was a meeting where I took minutes and I ran the thing and it's really hard to do. uh Oh. I don't know right now. Why don't we bring up what we have? Get everything we have. I'm gonna look for August 3rd.
Right now, I don't have the 8th. Trying to find that.
All right, I just resent it to you. Oh, I got something here. It says draft. That's a good sign. Okay, I'll send that in a minute too. Okay.
1 minute. I'm gonna pull up August 8th.
All right. Has anybody seen August 3rd or not?
No.
Sorry, guys.
August 8th. Is this the agenda? This is the agenda. No, is it?
They're in there.
Okay.
I literally just yeah, that's sorry. Sometimes I don't take them out because I forget to take it out and make it look like it's
Does this mean that Hannah and Bill were both absent? I wasn't going to revise the formatting, but it's just confusing.
fine. Anything to make it less confusing in my
Is
book.
So is that right that Hannah and Bill were not there?
Correct.
Okay.
So under reports, it just says no work done on the rest of this agenda because we didn't. Down at the bottom is adjournment. That was report number 2.
Just for clarity's sake, I'm just gonna say there was no discussion. What was report number 2? That's what we discussed in this meeting.
Yes. That was the one that ended so early. Okay, I entertain a motion to approve the minutes of August 8th.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 8th minutes.
I get a second?
I'll second
I
it.
second, nope. And I second it.
All those in favor?
Kevin Moe, aye.
Constine, I.
Brandon Carey, aye.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Okay. And I found August 3rd. And then with the exception of July 27th, we'll be in compliance, which is awesome.
Okay, I'm pulling up the 3rd. I think this is the spelling of her name.
Hold on. I'll tell you. Oh, Nickole. Did I say wrong to somebody? It's Nick, not H.
Oh, so okay. I
I'm-
saw it with an H before, and maybe that was a typo. Okay.
Well, I have it, yeah, because I just pulled up her email.
Okay.
It's my bad.
Is this what we want to say here?
It was actually a question that I had.
It seems like these two ideas or questions are contradictory to, if this was your
I
comment,
was,
you want to,
no, my comment was meets the massing. And then the applicant said volume is consistent with what's on that street. And he could be going all the way back down to 200. Because there's nothing else on that street to compare to what he's putting in,
so
which is what sparked the comment. So I'm gonna jump up for a minute. I gotta go get the power cord for this thing, or I'm gonna lose the meeting altogether. Oh, we've got it right here. Okay. Well, you can keep going. I think we're
do you want to revise anything about this? It just seems like it's not a
well.
finished.
That was a question that I had. It was a question I have for us to discuss later, which we can discuss tonight. So you could take that out, and then the rest of it is a quote from the client, the applicant. That's why I shouldn't be taking minutes because I put stuff in them that really doesn't belong there.
I just revised that line. It was the applicant that brought this up about what the city of Newton is doing with the vibration ordinance.
Yeah. It was actually an interesting comment that he brought it up at the end of the meeting. Which actually is something one of us should look into.
Okay, so I marked all of these not discussed. There was no other business. And I think my only other comment on these minutes would be where do our minutes begin here?
Yeah, right here, hearing started immediately after a couple of ground rules were stated regarding open microphones.
Um,
You want to put it in a different way?
well, I want to say something to the effect that the following is or minutes of the conversation that was conducted with the applicant, and to see report number 2 that
Okay,
that was issued as a result of the review.
right, so it's not a conversation, it's not a conversation, it's a hearing.
Okay.
So you could actually say this is the hearing. And I actually put the ground rules thing in there just so.
Well, a lot of these minutes are kind of conversational about what was discussed, but they aren't the official result of our report. That's what I'm trying to say. If you feel like we don't need that, I'll leave it out.
Well, the report came after, so these are the minutes of that meeting. I'm not sure you can reference the report in the minutes because we technically hadn't done it yet. By the
Yeah.
time,
Okay. Yep.
by the time the meeting, sorry. I'm really
Okay.
tired.
I guess I don't need to say anything then.
Unless you want to say something down at hearing and just say the hearing.
Okay. Does anyone have anything else on this?
I think it looks good.
I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes from August 3rd, 2023.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Sunstein, aye.
Kevin Mode, aye.
Brendan Carey, aye.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Send a text to Bill about those other minutes. So before I forget, since Bill's at the comprehensive plan, he's been looking at all the other comprehensive plan documents the town's produced. And because I had already done that at one point, there's a theme, and he's started to pick up on some of the themes. So I think at some point he's going to talk to us about those.
I hate to do this, but I think there's one other set of minutes that we need to approve, that a draft was sent and was uploaded. But we actually have to approve them, and those are the June 15th minutes. And you can tell me otherwise if they're already approved, but I don't think they were.
I thought they were approved at one of the meetings we just approved the minutes for.
Oh.
Sorry, because we actually got those done a while. Well, that was the first, because for some reason that was the one that I sent her, had available for that meeting. Don't ask me which one, but I think it's already been posted by the town. So let me think about this for a second. Are you gonna send these in, or do you want me to send them in?
I have them all open, so I can send them.
Okay, great. So I just send them to the entire committee and make sure you have the town clerk at Ashland, Mass. CC'd on it.
Yep.
That these minutes are ready to post.
Yes, we'll do.
Okay, great, because he's always very he'll send back something saying posted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. That would be awesome if you would do that. I have a full day tomorrow, prepping for a class, and I'm teaching on Saturday. Okay.
Were you teaching, Kathy?
Well, I have a second career in the entertainment business, so I do greens work. Yep. I do greens work for movies. So that's one of the things I do. I also do craft services. So I did craft services for Coda, which was really fun when it came up for all the awards. And
wow.
so teaching greens work, what I'm doing is taking people who are thinking about it as a craft or want to know more about it. I'm teaching them basic plant ID, which is untold amounts of documents. And then we're going to go whack at some invasives, and then we're going to go do some very, very basic creating definition at the place where we do a lot of these classes. So the studio mechanics local in New England is all the people behind the movies who do movies. We do a lot of trainings at one of the first studios was open in the Boston area down in Canton. And we're constantly using their facility. And so I basically said, why don't we do a little bit of work for these folks down here? Because I know they need it. Because every time I go down there, it looks, like trucks hit stuff and things like that. So we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. I don't know how far we'll get, but I'm hoping we get far enough that there's a garden outside the entrance where they like to bring people into that needs a lot of help, and then their entrance garden needs a lot of help for the staff in the back. So
Wow.
yeah,
Did not know that. That's kind of cool.
yeah, it can be extremely rewarding, and it can be one of those things where there's a lot of hurry up and wait. There's a lot of bosses, as you can imagine, but it's definitely another slice of life. We did Sea of Trees actually was done over at Ashland State Park.
Really?
Yes. Matthew McConaughey felt they had a lot of trouble getting it marketed because the subject was about people going into this forest in Japan where they commit suicide, but there's a lot of trees in
I thought
Japan
about that.
that are very similar to trees here. So we shot in all the state parks in Massachusetts, a couple of state forests. That was also a really cool film to work on.
Very interesting.
We created the flood in the back lot of a industrial park in Worcester, which was really crazy, but that was also fun. Okay, enough about me. Where are we here? We got all the minutes done. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so I'm just trying to figure out if we can come up with additional ways with our report, how we can improve the efficiency of our meetings so we're not wasting applicants' time and our time. And I think that we had a list of documents way back when at our January meeting with a joint meeting with the planning board. Kevin, did you find that at all?
In January, you're talking about?
Yes.
No, I have to write them. I think it was so long ago that I'm actually forgetting what it was that I talked about, and I think it was the Ashland Mills project.
No, I'm talking about the agenda that we sent. Because we had different agenda ideas in the planning board and they basically wanted to do what they wanted to do.
Oh,
Or they thought we were gonna collaborate on the agenda. So we had something that said discussion of design review committee.
yeah,
With planning.
no, right. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Do you want me to pull that up?
Yes, please. Well, it had a list of documents that we thought we needed, and we did. I think we started a list. We had started a list for one of the reports. I don't know where that ended up. But I think what we would need to do is know what else we need from an applicant. So we can ask for it at the outset. I think we use different language now for some of these things, but we just need to make it so it's understandable to everybody. Do you want me to try to look and find it?
I'm trying to. I just don't know where anything is. I think one of them is in our email. We went I think it was a document that was called triggers. But maybe it wasn't actually.
No, let me see if I can find it again. Let's see. In the meantime, Brendan and Hannah, well, we're looking for documents, sorry. If you have any thoughts about things that additional drawings, whatever else we might want to see, I think we need to be clear about it.
I think I found both.
Oh, great. Okay, good, because I'm not getting very far here with that. Huh.
So do we want to edit this right now?
I don't know if we're editing this or we just want to make a list of all the documents we think we need to see. That's it, by the way. That's the one that I have that we want to see from an applicant that we're not already seeing up front, so that so we're not wasting their time and our time. Kevin, Brendan, you're frowning. Are you looking at this frowning?
I think I always have a frown this time of night.
Can you blow that up? Well, this is something we sent to the planning board. It never happened.
Oh, number one's good.
Yeah, well, that still hasn't happened either. I'm talking about documents for applicants right now. We gotta. Can you blow up the printing? The size?
Yeah, I'm just trying to save a copy of it if we're going to be making any changes.
So I think what we'd actually do is pull out the document request coordination piece and work on that as a separate thing.
All right, pull out which number or which, say that again.
This whole document request coordination for project review, that whole section.
And just make this document about that.
Sure. A great way to do it. Then get rid of sign off DRC project review. Okay, great. So for instance, does anybody have any comments about item 2? And actually, that stuff on Somerville that I looked at the other day, that has it written perhaps more officially or professionally. Is that right? We were talking about.
Do you want to look at that? I can.
Yeah, I think it might be useful here.
You think it's more professionally written than how we have it?
I think there are phrases in there that might be useful, but I don't know. I was specifically thinking of um
Yes, Brendan.
Do we want to say minimum of one perspective view, or should we just say perspective views from each of the following locations? Like, why would you have 2 perspective views from the same? Should we just say like perspective views from the following locations, and A, B, and C look good?
yeah, I actually think I was looking at that thinking that was weird too, so thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Views should incorporate 3 adjacent property.
And should we say adjacent properties? Do we need to say 3?
Yeah, we need to say 3 because sometimes you can't tell from being close by. You need to see how it's going to fit into other properties on the street.
Okay.
We had that view of 9-49 from the same side of the street.
Would
It would look as gargantuan
we,
as I think it does.
should we have like a little star at the bottom saying DRC, or like coordinate perspective views with DRC prior to rendering? I mean, if like we could easily like go on a Google map, throw some arrows on and say we'd like to see here, here, and here.
I think that sounds reasonable. I'm not sure we'll get it, but let's try it.
No, I don't know if it's like a requirement or just we're just like trying to be like and not waste their time, and if we could help them and for us to understand it, we could actually coordinate with them and maybe save a meeting.
Yeah, I'm all for that.
I agree with that notion. I've never had a board tell us as an architect which views to take.
Oh, yeah, I don't know if that's overstepping.
I think it might
Trying to
be
be helpful, but I don't
overstepping.
want to. Okay.
I think we wanted by having A, B, and C here, I think we wanted to cover our bases. I think I might say two adjacent properties, and the only reason why I would reduce it is that that might apply to every project. Every project has, like, if it's along a street, it has a neighbor to the left and a neighbor to the right.
Yeah,
But
maybe. Oh, sorry. I was gonna
Well,
say maybe we should add like to show context of or like a little like line after that explaining why we'd like to see it.
yeah, maybe it's about showing the properties on either side, but then also across the street.
Or
So that would be the
So-
three.
yeah, impacted properties or
so in
Yeah.
Somerville, for instance, they say 3 viable schematic massing concepts building 6 stories or less are excluded, illustrated in axon and perspective views. And then they follow that with a larger context plan showing the surrounding neighborhood, including neighborhood open spaces, both public and private, significant buildings, major roads, transportation connections, and natural features. So I don't actually care how we do it. What I'm after is to see how will this fit into the area that it's going into. And so my concern is if we do it from 2 buildings away, we're not getting enough perspective on it.
Yeah, I think A,
doesn't-
B, and C get closer, right? So this one is closest to the property. This is 3 adjacent properties that are a little
Yeah.
bit further away, and then C is from a distance of 3 properties away, to put it in greater context.
Okay.
But I do want to add what you noted, Kathy, about the 3 schematic options or massing studies. I don't think that's ever been requested of an applicant that's coming in and trying to design a project for this town, and that really would introduce the applicant's idea to us at a very early stage, and I think that's what we've been missing.
I would agree. You want me to read it off?
The Somerville one.
Yep. That's where I'm
Oh,
getting.
sorry, I realized my screen was shared. I'm paused. So from Somerville.
It's right, right there.
Yeah. So it's 3 viable schematic massing concepts. Buildings 6 stories or less are excluded.
I'll just take that out.
Excluded. I don't know.
That's for Somerville.
Yeah.
So just take that out. But the rest of it would be good.
Yeah, because I really I think this has to do with the fact that if there's a property to build on in Somerville, it's going to be very compact. And I think we have
Well, we have the same problem in our own way going on
yeah,
here.
well, in the downtown, but then there are properties outside of the downtown that might be a little more sprawling or demand more review of the massing concepts that are viable.
Well, I think we're starting to do that because people are really annoyed at the lack of green space. And then that other part of the Somerville thing was the paragraph adjacent to that, to the right of it.
Yeah, I'll go back and look at that one. I think this concept of presenting viable massing options, I think that would be number 2. I think that's at the very beginning of what they should be
Yeah.
starting to look at.
Needs its own number. Yeah.
Present 3 viable massing. Could we say before entering schematic design? Schematic design is going to be, they have massing and they're going to develop it in more detail. I think we need to,
Three viable,
When,
wait a second, this says 3 viable schematic massing concepts illustrated in axon and perspective view. So it uses the word schematic, yeah, before there.
yeah, I guess it depends. When do they normally come to the DRC? Is it,
Well,
I mean, they don't come with just concepts. They're probably in SD, right?
well, this is part of what's going on right now, is that they used to come to DRC at the same time as planning board. And there have been issues in previous years where they go back and forth with the 2 groups. And so that, I think, is one of the ongoing issues that has to be addressed, period. Because I know that we've gone through with clients, applicants, clients on the brain right now. And we've gotten buildings to a state where we think they're pretty good based on what's going on with the planning board, but we've at least gotten the outside to look decent. They don't have, my pet peeve, all the vents running down the front, things like that, or they're hidden. And then they get to planning board and everything gets changed. So both 128 Main and 12 Pond, that happened. And that wasn't the only time, actually. It happened a lot before that.
we try to do this in all of our presentations. You have a large context plan that shows significant buildings and features and open areas around the project. So I think we should be asking for that. We make it part of our practice, but not everyone is going to do it unless we ask for it.
Correct.
I think too, we could, say something right in the beginning that, these documents are being requested in the interest of streamlining the, process so that we don't have to go back and ask for drawings over and over again. So maybe it would be a way to kind of elicit some cooperation from the applicants.
You'd actually pull that language right off the agenda. I put it on there because I'm really, I would like this to work. And I think we need to tell them we're thinking about this, because I think they don't think we are.
So I agree with what you said, Hannah. How would you like that to be
I
formatted?
think it's like a introductory sentence before you get into the list of drawings. So like right under the title there, it's like,
Mhm.
you know, that this list is presented, you know, to facilitate a streamlined process of communication and approvals, whatever words you want to use. But basically, to let them know that if they give us these drawings, the process is going to be quicker and more efficient, hopefully.
Hearings. Create a streamlined process in both the planning board and design committee.
What is the typical process now anyway? Like, how many meetings do they have with the planning board before we get involved? Because it's not right from the very beginning.
Well,
No,
it's in flux right now. That's the best I can say about it, because it used to be right at the very beginning, and the bylaw says at the very beginning.
Right.
Oh, wait.
I think we need to have a conversation or another retreat with the planning board in order to discuss this. You know, if we're going to be able to look at 3 viable schematic massing concepts, then it has to be at the very beginning. But that has to be understood when the planning board discusses when the project comes to the DRC.
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's get the list together first, and then we're gonna discuss the approach second, because
Yep.
the answer is I think we need to do that, but
We have to watch the time here because it's 8:30. Brendan said he had to leave at 9 and I have to leave shortly thereafter.
right.
wow.
Is there anything that we should skip ahead and do? Or if we just cover this list, could we be done for the night? Or
Yeah, I think we need a list. Well, and then we can discuss the marked up
Report.
sorry, thank you. I just forwarded the stuff that Kevin and I were talking about the other day, and a couple of things I found going on that website of theirs. So you all will have it and you can look at it, because it's actually really interesting. And they're not messing around.
so I think we should reword this, but do we want to add something to this effect to the list?
I was thinking that would be useful. Unless other people have something else they want to do.
Yeah. I'm for it.
The other thing, Kevin, would be the site analysis. Well, actually, it's that whole next section at the bottom, actually, below this one.
Should line item 4 and 6 and 7 be combined?
6 and 7. Using
Yeah, like should 7 be like an A?
Probably. Or you could just combine it, I think.
Yeah,
Hidden line perspective. Views of the model.
Thank you.
So site analysis, do we want to expand on that?
It says a site analysis that considers environmental conditions, including but not limited to solar aspect, including changes that any building would create, drainage, existing vegetation, topography, noise, screening, etc.
I don't know.
Well, we never see that. We see some of it, but we don't really see it.
I'd rather them. I think we could figure it out ourselves, and then I feel like I'd rather ask them to focus on like the massing and the things
Well, we actually need
we
them to
really care
tell us
about.
some of this. We actually need them to tell us some of this because they don't, it doesn't get
What do we
considered.
know, Ashland, more than them? Like,
Well,
do you need to see a site analysis for like 9 to 49?
ideally, yeah, because he didn't give us the proper solar thing. And so, some of this is saying stuff that you might already do without even thinking about it when you look at a project, but some of these people are coming in here and they're not thinking about this stuff, or I'm going to say that the way they present stuff, I think they aren't thinking about it in a holistic way. And it comes in piecemeal,
Fair enough.
and we need them to be, to me, it's a way to get them to do their homework. Because I think that some of the issues we're having right now are because stuff wasn't thought out, or they just thought they'd do it as they were building it. I don't know what they're thinking. But it's actually,
They're just not professionals.
I didn't say that. There's another, well, what precedes that is it says 3 viable schematic facade design concepts illustrated in elevation, including details of the building base.
Yeah, we don't even mention anything about materials or facade options here.
Right. So that's actually where we're proposing something somewhat different and new, because then they go down to follow any additional diagrams illustrating proposed satisfaction of the design guidelines applicable to the development proposal. You guys work in Somerville, right? What's PUD? PUD?
Public something design,
Urban design?
public urban, yeah.
So it gets even more crazy. Says,
Oh, it's a planned unit development.
oh,
It's way off.
development subject to any previously approved PUD of the former ASMD zoning district must provide the following, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think a PUD is similar to like the Ashland downtown district. It's a planned development with a future goal in mind. I don't know. I don't know what we actually want to list here because it could be an endless list actually.
Well, But I think the list that's there gets through. Well, this said environmental conditions, including but not limited to solar aspect, including changes that any building would create, drainage, existing vegetation, topography, noise screening, etc. So I know, like in Boston, they talk about shade of buildings, they talk about wind tunnels like all the time. It's one of the big, two of the big things that come up with buildings. And that's from, oh, a long time ago. Back when I used to live in Boston. Long before they changed the name. And they wanted to know all these things about it. In particular, downtown by the Common and the Public Garden, they were very clear that they didn't want buildings to be that tall to create shade on either of those spaces. They wanted them to be in the sun and to be nice, pleasant spaces. And at some point, I was in charge of an event down there, and the people were from New York, and they all commented on the fact that it was a sunny space, whereas wherever they had done something in New York, it used to be sunny, but it had become shaded by buildings, which I thought was a really interesting comment. I was like, huh. An unintended effect of development that nobody had thought about till they had to.
Yeah, I don't think you can make a good building without assessing all of this. So when we present to a client, we actually say, you know, you already know all of this. We're just kind of telling you the story of your town or your property or whatever it is. And it really shows that we've done our homework and we know why we're doing the things that we're doing,
Exactly.
even if we feel like the person that we're presenting to already knows all the information.
Right.
Right.
No, I think it's a good, I hate to use the term exercise, but I think it is.
Yeah. I don't know what, sorry, I'm skipping ahead, but I don't know where this one came from.
That's confusing. I can say that.
Is it because we don't
Right.
trust that when they say they're doing compact spaces, we don't trust that they're scaled correctly in the plan, or
I think what we actually wanted to see is what the difference would be. So that because our parking calls for whatever it calls for, and it's more than people think is reasonable now, which is why everybody keeps coming to us saying we want an adjustment to it. And generally they get it. Even though they have to go through all of these shenanigans to get it. And so that's in there because what would the square footage, if you didn't have all of the parking per the bylaw, what would essentially where would you get extra square foot on your property, and what would you do with it? That's why that's in there, I think. It was a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago when we wrote this. I think that was the
Feels
intention.
confusing.
What's that?
It feels confusing to me. It just
I mean, we're just asking them to present a civil drawing that shows the parking. I don't know.
Shows the parking, regular space and smaller space.
So you want to see
So
two
I don't know.
variations of a parking lot.
Well, let me put it to you this way. I don't know if this is reasonable, and I don't know if we can get it out of them or people are going to have the reaction that you two just had. But I think that was in there because when it got written at the time, we thought it was something that would be reasonable to ask them. Partly because it started to come up at planning board meetings. They're actually theoretically going to be looking at that. And then when I heard That's why I sent the stuff about parking a while ago. And about the cost of how much it costs to make 2 parking spaces per unit in a project.
I'd rather them just meet the parking standards for the zoning. Check that box, and then we can have a discussion about reducing sizes, but I think that's a zoning question.
Well, it ultimately is.
Like, I guess I would never prepare like a separate site plan with different parking sizes
Okay,
that
then
didn't meet the zoning requirements.
just get it out of there.
Uh,
Are we
Also, I've never
making,
seen a planning board.
Well, we actually, it's because we have an ongoing issue with smaller compact cars, some of them, and some of them are behemoths still. And then the third piece of that is that um, people are either way are trying to not do the standard like 10 by 20 parking space anymore. They're trying to go down to, that's 9 by 18.
9 by 18 is the standard everywhere, pretty much.
Okay, then I
10
think,
by 20, that's insane.
well, yeah, but that's the old.
I've never seen that.
In some of the older like malls and places like that, you'll pull into a spot and you'll be like, my God, like you don't really have to even think about parking, or pulling in, or
Yeah.
and, you go into some of the garages in Boston, they're very specific about these are compact spaces only. And then I don't even know compact spaces, what are they now?
I think you can go as small as 8 by maybe 16. But
Right?
9 by 18 is 9 by 18 and a 24-foot drive lane is pretty much the standard. I've never really seen, sometimes they do like 20 feet long, but it has a shorter drive lane, like a 22-foot drive lane or 20-foot drive lane.
Right. Well, I did events for years in a parking lot where it was 10 by 20, so it was fairly easy to pace off where the tents and things were gonna go. That's how I know.
Shopper's World.
No. No, it's down in New
You're dating
Bedford,
yourself,
actually. I'd be about 100 years old if that was the case.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here?
oh, I had a question about, are we making this list, which is the same list that the planning board would be requesting applicants to provide to them? Right, this is the same list, whether it's documents for our review or the planning board's review? Because the planning board has to review a civil drawing that has parking shown. So maybe we don't delete that line item. I don't know.
Well, see, I don't think we should put the words planning board up on that first,
Yeah,
because I think we're asking for these documents in particular to streamline the process with the applicant.
Yeah, we rarely get all the documents. We get like a pretty picture.
Yes. Okay,
so this is in addition to what the planning board might be requiring.
correct.
Okay.
So on number 8, like A and B could be combined. I'm not quite sure why C. Oh,
It should just be like an existing conditions survey. I wouldn't want them like to confuse that. It would be nice to have like a survey, like 9 to 49. It looks like they just kind of like trace some property lines and don't have like an actual survey.
uh, are you moving that?
yeah, I think it should be next to the site analysis.
Oh, okay. Uh, what Brendan was saying about the survey is
Mhm.
I'd love it
actually,
to say like existing conditions survey with topography and vegetation.
with topography and vegetation identified.
Yeah.
So the site walk through for 9-49, I actually asked them to do that because there were a couple of significant trees, which at some point we saw on something we saw from them again. And that's why I ended up having the whole conversation with Julian about the critical root zone documents, which we had already sent over to the planning board like well over a year ago. So I forwarded those to Alvaro to send to him so they could protect the roots of those. And I think there's a maple, and I don't remember what the other one is. And they're sort of to the back. One of them was more off to the right. And honestly, everything else back there is stuff that's really beat up or invasive. They did another, they weren't surprised to hear this from me because they did another, they did the entire, uh, they actually got a site plan approved for something called Alden Street, 41 something Alden Street, and there was a boatload of trees behind that. I actually went down and dragged my husband to help be the recording secretary. We measured all the trees so I could talk about how valuable they were in the landscape. And what they were really doing was hiding really awful views that project had gone through, or um, but creating some buffering views. And I really wanted the trees respected. And there was at least one neighbor who was really glad that we were down there doing that because she had large trees right on the edge of her property that were just inside her property line. But that they were going to totally take that project out to the edges, just like this one. And we could take discussion of Starbucks and 12 Pond Street out, that line.
And I was just looking at the Somerville list again, and I think what would also be helpful is a narrative.
Oh yeah, good idea.
A written narrative,
We do that. Yeah, we do that a lot. Just describe the project.
great. Because we hear it a lot. We never see a written thing on it.
Yeah, because we ask a lot of questions that could be covered in the narrative, and then we have a record of it, about sustainability goals and like I think it would be helpful for applicants to think about how the building fits into the context and actually write something about it that we can read. Because I think it would
Yeah.
make them be a little more thoughtful.
It sounds good to me. So where would that get put?
I just put it here under number 2.
Oh, there you go. Okay, thank you. Um, we need to say something about green space in that line.
Mhm.
Green space,
And enhances.
yes. You could even say public green space. Because that's actually what the town is after, I think. Yeah, I like that. Sorry. Okay.
I'm rewriting this a little bit so that we're not accused of copying and pasting.
It's okay. I don't think anybody from Somerville is going to be paying attention.
um, I thought there was maybe something else here. Oh, diagrams. Oh, I think there are two things. I think this actually would be helpful if we actually required a format for the presentation. For one thing, it would be easier to see when we're looking at it. It's 11 by 17. It's automatically going to be a larger scale on the screen. We can print it and review it more easily if we wanted to. And it forces the applicant to create a presentation rather than showing a civil drawing.
I'm anything you think could improve what we're seeing would be great, honestly. And you all do lots of presentations like that. Because I just
Yeah, this tells me that it shouldn't be a construction drawing, that we need to take a construction drawing and make a more, aesthetic presentation. It's for a different audience and context.
right.
Do we treat all projects equally? Like, or is there like a minor review and a major review?
You ask that again?
Sorry, it just popped in my head, but like, um, do we treat all projects equally? As in, if you have to come to us, it's the same, or is there like a minor, like that Magunka Road? Is there like a minor review compared to like 9 to 49 or like
Well,
anything in the downtown where it's more of like a major kind of, you have to, is
it's
there
all,
a threshold or
I think it's all about the
it
size
seems like
of
a lot to, yeah.
it. I think it's um
Is there anything that defines like a minor project versus like a major project?
we could actually specifically
Like, I mean, like this list is great for 9 to 49 or like 10 to 50, what Main Street, but like,
right. It's a good
I'm just
point.
thinking like the McGunko Road, like, do we just need like a nice site plan that shows everything they're doing, like with dimensions and heights of any kind of proposed element or building?
Well, we either need to say that at the top or we actually say it at the bottom and just say because that was the big projects. So I don't want to we need to be careful because he was doing something very different from that the lovely storage building on 135. So they're both commercial uses, but um, it's a much, his project, the massing and scale of it is has a much smaller footprint than the storage unit project, for example. Or even like 128 Main or 12 Pond are there's more massing to those, I think, than there is to um than what happened over at McGunko Road. Because he was mostly a one-story building over there, right? Maybe it's two-story,
He's like
one or
putting a couple like parking spaces and like signs, and like it didn't seem like, it seems like this would be like over their head
well, it's overkill.
for a sec. Well,
It's
yeah, and just
overkill.
and I, yeah,
I'm not sure how
I don't know if
we
like
would phrase
if the
that.
planning board, if they decide or not, but it feels like
I think
we're fresh off of 9 through 49, and we're kind of like, and we need this and this and this. It just seems like a lot.
I think we just need to think about the phrasing of how we would do this, of how we would say that. And put it up at the top. That this is intended for larger, more
Like
visible
major construction
projects.
projects, or yeah,
Well,
major, yeah.
we have to define
Hmm.
it really carefully because,
Is it defined in
what's
the
major, what's
like the
minor.
bylaws anywhere?
No, I don't think so. I mean, you have to poke around and look. I don't, I mean, the only way it's defined is about multifamily and the amount of parking, which is way over the top. I mean, we have to come up with a different way to describe what you're talking about, because I think you're right. But he has oodles of parking there. What's his business? Auto body,
Right.
So
Yeah.
he's going to have them there, and he's doing two things there. I think he's selling used cars and he's doing the auto body.
Can I
And he's,
jump in on this topic?
yeah, please.
Please.
Um, I I think that it's up to us to determine how we apply these questions and our report format and list of documents to each project.
Right.
But if I was an architect going after a project and maybe it was just like a small addition to an existing building, I would look at this list and probably I would respond to each item in the narrative that I would write per item two here, and I would say not applicable to any of these things. If there's an item here that we're requesting that doesn't apply to the building at hand or the project at hand, then I think it's up to the applicant to note that it doesn't apply to them. And I think that could be reasonable. I think we just assess that on a case by case basis.
Okay.
I don't want to create separate lists for different
Need
types
to
of
say anything
projects.
about that up front?
I don't think we need to say anything up front about that this list is only for certain projects, because then an applicant might say, well, my project doesn't fit into that mold, and so it doesn't apply to me.
That's partly what I'm concerned about. I don't want this to be misinterpreted, but I think it's a really viable point. Um,
Is it kind of, is this applicable for like anything that like requires a special permit?
Yeah, we only review special permit projects.
Okay. So okay. All right. So yeah, let's just make them say like let the applicant determine what they want to provide.
I don't, why did Magungo come to us? Because of where it's located?
it was a special permit with regards to parking, wasn't it? Or there was a second use being applied to the property?
Yeah, but I don't remember the triggers for
But
doing
generally,
review are location in the town, where it's,
It was,
the
it might have been the parking that brought it, because there was so much parking compared to the buildings. I don't actually remember. I just remember being surprised, and then when I figured out who it was, I was like, oh, wow.
Guys, I'm gonna have to go in a couple of minutes, just so you know.
We,
Okay.
if Brendan is leaving too, then we need to wrap
Um,
it up because we're not gonna.
I
Right.
can hang around for a little longer.
Okay, so my concern is I want to actually if we think this is good, so Hannah, before
Can
you
we finish
go,
the list?
yeah, do we think we've finished it? That's my question. Or do we want to just, you could send this back out to everyone and we could look at it? Because Joel and
Could
Bill
make sense to read it over tomorrow and just kind of see, fresh, if we notice anything missing.
right, that's what I was thinking, just so we don't
Yeah.
done here, and maybe we can figure out a way. I think we have to be really careful with that. I think you've got a good point, Brendan, but I think we have to be really careful with how we phrase something like that. Because somebody
Maybe,
else,
well, I haven't been here that long, so maybe it's just that one little project seemed like it was like maybe that's just like the odd project. So
well, excuse me, we've actually had a couple. There was one where they're storing a bunch of stuff, the downtown project right now on a lot that's on Magunko Road, right at the top of Magunko Road, across from where the dance studio is. And I think that's called Zero Magunko Road, or I don't remember. And then there was
Where
another
all the
one.
light poles are,
Sorry?
where all the lighting poles are.
Yes, thank you. And then there was another one that backed up to the railroad tracks behind the Magunko Road properties, which is a landscaper who had bought up 3 properties down there to clean up and expand his business and fit everything into that area. Metcalf Road, maybe. Anyway, that was sort of a small one because he was changing the use of something over there. Even though it was in an overlay district, they had to come before us. So, those didn't have a lot of documents either.
mhm.
Didn't really need them. They were going to be, I think, the design review committee at the time thought that the landscaper buying up the property and doing what he's doing over there was going to be a vast improvement from what had been previously going on. Was the, so, do we think this is good for right now? We'll take another look at it next time.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
Okay. And then, anybody have any comments on the letter before we, the email from design review? To design review from the planning board?
all the green notes.
Mm-hmm.
You had a reaction, Brendan.
I know it seemed a little dismissive. Like not your role, not your role, not your role.
Yeah,
We'll tell you what to look at.
exactly. I told Kathy we got sent to bed without supper.
So,
I think we all feel the same way. That's how I feel.
right.
Like just keep
Um,
screaming into the void.
Well, I think we have to be clear about what we think our role is per the bylaw, which was set by town meeting. And if we think that what we did was reasonable, then we just keep on going, make it as transparent as possible. Because that's what I think we've been really trying to do, and we've been trying very hard with some good success to work on our communications, streamlining, improving the communications with this document. Thank you again. you guys. You dreamed it up to begin with. That's huge. I think it's made a big impact. I don't know if
It
anybody else.
occurs to me, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I didn't know if anyone else had anything else to say, but I don't know another way to approach this.
I think, they called out the bylaw in their letter, and so it's an invitation for us to revisit it and check what we're doing against it, which we've done before, but maybe just look at it again. And then continue on, because I mean, from the tone of the letter, it was more like, we'll decide what we want you to look at, not like you should, follow the bylaw, even though they brought it up. So I found that to be a little contradictory.
Right. Well, what I was also struck by was that we're clear we're advisory. So
It's not like we're,
I'm finding the tone. You can only look at this.
If we say so.
Well, it's surprising actually based on what the bylaw actually says. So I think we're getting I asked, talking to, I don't know, 2 or 3 people about this. I said it would be helpful for us to have binders of the bylaw so people can go through and mark them up and flag areas and things like that, because I find it really much easier to edit stuff if I have something in front of me as opposed to trying to do it digitally. So by Tuesday or Wednesday next week, Alvaro will have all that stuff ready for us.
What is it, a print of the bylaws or print of the guidelines, or what is
I
he
hope
looking
both, and I'll actually, it's a good question. I'll just clarify with him that we're looking for both.
for? Yeah. I mean,
Um,
looking at the email from Marcelo and Trisha, I wonder where we overstepped, because we broke down our report format into landscape and building orientation, open space, heritage, pedestrian access. Like that's how we broke it down. And then when you look at things like under building orientation, height and scale, I mean, those are kind of vague things, and I think we're still within our rights to review them.
I don't think we overstepped.
Yeah.
I don't think we overstepped based on what I've seen, but I think that's why I think it would be useful for everybody to have the copies of this so we can all be looking at the same thing and go through it and make sure that we're within the bylaw.
I think that the idea is that the project is beyond the point of looking at massing, that the planning board has already reviewed and vetted that. And
Well,
well, let me just finish. That's another
Sure,
reason
right.
why we should be looking at projects earlier, so that we can actually comment and make some changes at the outset.
Right. And we had a conversation about the lack of space at the front of the building and the masking and the scale in terms of why one of the reasons why we were having so much trouble figuring out what we could do with the landscaping and all the other things that were desirable to have out there in that front space, because it's really too small for the scale of the building. So to say nothing of now we have poles and wires out there also taking space.
Well, I don't think we have time to actually talk about the project.
No, I think
Yes.
no, and I think I'd actually like to I have a long day tomorrow. I had a long day today. Oops, sorry. So what I was thinking is we can go back. We've got this thing which you can send out to all of us, right, Kev, at the end of this. what you
Okay.
edited,
Yes, yeah.
and we'll all look at it. We'll all look at this committee report, and hopefully next week we'll get the binders and we can start going through them and apply it to the report and see if we think we're still, we're still within what we're supposed to be doing. And then we'll take it from there. I think we can, if we disagree with what's being said, we can just write on our last report that we respectfully disagree. Because our job is to render an opinion. It's their job to make the decision.
Yeah, and I think what the planning board wants us to do is focus on what we can still control at this point with this particular project.
Right.
We still have decisions to be made.
So I'm gonna
Whereas
use
others have been made already. Yeah.
I'm gonna use a project though that we got the there was a 40B. It's tied up in land court right now, just below Cirrus. And we got a request from the zoning board to look at that project. They wanted us to look at the architecture of the project. It was pretty modern, and I think they weren't very comfortable with it. By the end of the guy's presentation, he had referred to the landscaping so many times in the presentation that part of our comments back, we prefaced our comments back to the zoning board saying we cannot consider this project without the landscaping, so we've made comments about it. And then I just happened to run into the chair around town and said, I hope we didn't overstep, but that's why we did. And he said, oh no, it was once you wrote it that way, we understood what you'd said, and that was fine to do that. So that's where I'm going with this. That was Anna just had to pop off. So
Yeah.
but I said this I think a few meetings ago that we needed to all read the bylaw, and here we are. So and I think it's gonna be important. I think it'll be informative, and then we can make some decisions moving forward. So anybody have any other comments?
No.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody want to entertain a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask one final question?
You can always ask a question.
What is the plan for reviewing in detail those green items? Do we have I guess we're not reviewing those items until the applicant comes back to us with revised drawings and materials and all of that. So are they set to be on the agenda in the next couple of weeks?
I want to say there was some mention made of August 31st, so that's a good question. And I would just write.
My primary question is I don't think we need to respond to this email with the comments from the planning board and until we meet with the applicant. I don't think there's anything we need to do right now.
Right. And I'm also concerned that this report has been sent to the applicant, which is something they said they weren't going to do in the future. And so I'm not sure how this is communicated to the applicant right now. Um,
Yeah, you don't have to do this, or
well, because we had I forget who we had a meeting with. Brendan, it was before you came on for sure, where the applicant essentially told us we didn't have to do this because there was a memo from the planning board that said they didn't have to do it anymore. And that wasn't the case. I think it was 100 Chestnut, actually. They had sent a memo saying they wanted these items answered, but it was not to the exclusion of all the other stuff.
Well,
So,
unfortunately, we're not, our committee is not the AHJ. We are not the authority having jurisdiction actually over the applicant. So I think,
well, that's why I want everybody to read the bylaw
yeah,
and see, because I think the intention of town meeting was to actually have additional eyes on these projects reviewing it because town meeting felt it was necessary.
mhm.
Kind of like the HERS stuff. The first time adopting the basic HERS, was kind of like the town meeting where this past time where only half of the HERS stuff got adopted. And people got up and complained that it was going to be too expensive. I mean, they all got up there and sang a song, and literally as soon as the thing got passed, there was a developer in town over on Oak Street, no, off of Oak Street on the Oregon Road, who put in a development, and everything up there was following the new HERS, and apparently it's some of the best housing in town in terms of, at the time it was.
In terms of design or energy efficiency.
Energy efficiency, the design was pretty standard, but energy efficiency.
Well, maybe the action item right now is just confirming with Peter that the applicant knows what they need to prepare to come back to us. Do they know what their
Yeah.
action items are? I think that's what we asked Peter to find out.
I was kind of confused looking at the whole document. Like,
I think
What-
that document is
what-
internal. I mean, it needs to be public record, of course. But I think right now it's just internal correspondence between the planning board and ourselves. But how has that been translated to the applicant and to their workload?
Well, yeah, we'll find out eventually because that will be a public document, I believe. It's an official email going back with instructions, if you will, to an applicant. Or here's what else we want to see.
Yeah, I just wondered if they're making a succinct list or just sending that report with all the green text on it.
That's why I brought it up. I don't know.
Hmm. Okay. Well, shall I make a motion to adjourn?
I was willing to entertain it a few minutes ago.
Oh,
Sorry.
I'll second
Anybody
it.
else? Oh, excellent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, let me get it for the notes.
Okay.
Brendan Carey, aye.
Kathy Rooney, aye. Are you gonna make it
Oh, I
unanimous?
said Kevin Mote, aye. Sorry, I said aye.
It's unanimous. That's awesome. Okay, Brendan, thank you so much for 2 minutes.
No problem. Quick question. When did you call the meeting to order before I arrived at like 6:50? Or do I just say 7:05 and that was kind of like a
7:05, whenever we started. We were actually doing housekeeping.
Housekeeping, okay.
Because I didn't
Works
turn the
for me.
recording on until after we.
Oh, good point. So, okay, I have the notes. I'll promptly check them up.
Excellent. Appreciate that. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Take care.
Thank you. Good night.
All right.
Bye.
Night.